Well, g'day everyone. I'm always trying to look at something or get a different shot than what others are giving out there. And I've noticed a lot of the time when I'm shooting weddings, I do get into these crazy small rooms where I'd love to say get an impact shot where it would look different and I could get the whole room in as well as say get the bride. And it might just be that she's looking at her dress or something like that. So I wanted to get a really very wide angle, and what I looked online, and I went onto Pergear actually, and I saw that they had a fisheye lens, and it's this one that they had here, which is, it's one of the 7 Artesians lenses. It's a 7.5mm F2.8 lens for Sony. You can also get them for Panasonic, Fuji and Canon as well. It's a really nice little lens. I'll show you how it's sort of built in a minute. And they're only $139, so it's incredibly cheap. So I contacted them and just said, look, would you be willing to send me one so I could have a look at it? And they did. They sent me one. Now, unfortunately, I can't use it at weddings at the moment because we are in lockdown, so I haven't got that opportunity to do it yet, but I will. It's not a lens that I would use all the time, by under no means, because it's not sharp like my Sony lenses and things like that. But to get a certain look, it might give me a real interesting look. Like for instance, I'll show you a couple of images where I've got Kerry sitting in the car. So let me switch over to this. So you can see here that I've taken this with me sitting in the passenger seat, and I took a shot of Kerry sitting in the car there. Now, you need a really wide lens here. Now, this is an APS-C lens, so I did have to stick it onto the APS-C mode, Super 35 mode on my A9, or you could use it on an APS-C camera like a A6400, for instance, that I had as well. But this sort of gives you an idea about how wide this lens can go in the car. Now, there is distortion in this lens, of course, and that's one thing you've got to understand with how this lens works. But I wanted to sort of show you the type of thing that I may use this for in a wedding to get a shot that I couldn't get with any other lens that I've got. So let's start by looking at the build quality of this lens now. It's really well made. It's got a nice little lens hood. That doesn't come off, it's there permanently. And the lens is bulbous, so you can't put a filter on or anything like that, so you've got to understand that. But it's tiny, made of full metal, so it's built like a little tank, this thing. All you have is, you've just got your f-stop that you can turn here from f22 to f2.8, and then you've got your manual focus up the top, which is infinity at that side, and down to 0.12 of an inch there. So it looks really, really nice. Okay, so now that we've looked at the build quality, let me sort of take you through a few of the shots that I've taken, and I'll just discuss with you a little bit about them. Like I said, I really wish I could have had a wedding where I could have taken the occasional shot with it, just to have a little bit of impact. But let me take you back to Lightroom, and I'll take you through a few of these images that you can see. And all I did on the day, we drove down to Geelong, and I took some shots going down there. And you can see here, this is one of Cunningham Pier, and this would be another one where you could have a bride or something stand in between here. You've got to understand though, anything that's on the edges when you're using this type of lens, a fisheye lens, is going to distort. But in some cases, it's actually a lot of fun to play around with it just to give an image. Now remember, I suppose being in a wedding, I could use it, and then if I didn't like the image, I would just chuck it out. The bride would never see it. But at least I could say get an image with the bride in a, like I said, a tight enclosure or a space where I couldn't use any other lens that I've got. There are distortions when you get very close, and you can see that's what happens here. But again, you can have a little bit of fun when you're using these lenses, because you can get really close to the subject and you can distort them and warp them in really interesting ways. I also got up close to this Ferris wheel as well, just to sort of see how it looked. And again, I then sort of tried to grab some boats and things like that out in the harbour there. Now you can sort of see it's not an incredibly sharp lens. I mean, if you look in the centre, it's reasonably sharp. When you get out to the outside edges, it does get an awful lot softer. But like I said, for what you're sort of paying for this lens, I suppose you couldn't expect to have an unbelievably sharp lens. Now you can have a lot of fun though with doing sort of things like this, where you can get something that has a point of difference. Now you do get that real warp that you're seeing there in the ocean, but I quite like that. And again, it's something that if you didn't want to use it, you wouldn't have to. Again, I thought I'd take one here to show a sort of wide angle look through this as well. And this was sort of something where I was thinking, well, I could have a bride walking down the middle down here and have that perspective or the leading lines that you're seeing going right away, and you get a really nice effect with a fisheye lens shooting this way. And I thought that could give me a really really interesting look. Again, this was another one where I thought I could have a bride standing in the center, and I'll show you Kerry walking in a minute. It's quite good if you put the subject dead center. It actually, in fact, makes them look taller. But if you have them dead center, yes, the outside edges may distort, but she'd look beautiful standing in the center with the dress sort of coming down this way and pointing out. Again, I wanted to sort of use this. You can see the curvature that you're getting there with the lens on the horizon, but you're getting this beautiful sort of wide angle look all through the center through here. And again, this is another one where yes, you're getting the really wide angle stairs at the front there, but it gives a really interesting perspective. Remember, this is all art. It's all about what you like and what you'd like to use. So I think it's quite interesting. And another one here, I thought I'd show Kerry, but we are in lockdown, so I couldn't use a model. So thanks, Kerry, for doing this with me. So I just asked her to walk towards me on the road here. And again, I just took one of Kerry walking here. So you'll sort of see the perspective in the center. It's thinned her out a little bit and made her a little bit taller than what she looks, but I think this would be fine for something particularly like a bride in a wedding dress. I think it would look good. And again, I've done one where it's closer here, and you can see the distortion's not too bad. Now look, I have to admit, it's not a portrait lens in any regard, but if you're after something that would give you something that's different, you know, for the cost, it might be worthwhile just to throw into your bag. Again, close-up focus. I've got a couple here that I did. You can see this is the canola field, and again, you get the nice fall off shooting at 2.8, and there is the curvature you sort of see through the sides here. And if we look at another one that's close up here, you can sort of see that I've got close up through here. So the lens does give quite a nice blur in the background, which is quite good as well. For a wide angle type look as well, you can get a nice type of look this way. I'm just shooting the canola fields through here. And again, if you get down really low, you can get some really nice, interesting looks because this is so wide in the field of view. And like I said, it's quite nice and sharp in the center, but it definitely blurs out at the edges. But, you know, I think overall, for the cost, I think this is a really nice lens to just throw in your bag. And it's certainly one that I'm looking forward to taking to a wedding and getting a shot that is different. Would I use it all day? By no means, because it's nowhere near as sharp as what my Sony lenses are. It's manual focus, but again, because the lens is so wide, there's no real problem with getting focus on this because everything really is in focus. You just put it near infinity and then everything's in focus. It's really nice. And like I said, I can't wait to get a different shot, say take a shot of the bride in the car. If I'm in a really tight room where I just haven't got a lens that's wide enough to capture that whole vista, I could have the bride standing in the center there. Yes, she's going to look nice and tall, but I think it could be a good look for an impact image. And I'll have to try that when I get some weddings in the coming months once we get out of lockdown. Let me know what you think anyway. I'll leave the links for this down below, so if you are interested in it, you could purchase it. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And apart from that, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.